been coming to Creative Mornings for a pretty long while, and I thought it was awesome for something in breakfast time, as far as getting together, as far as animation is concerned, and visual effects, and art, media, entertainment. I was just looking for that community, and that's where this opportunity approached. But with this theme, Crossroads, I was like, oh, perfect, because I'm always at the crossroad of art, media, entertainment, but also religion when it comes to the visual effects that I do with concert visuals. I would run into the same softwares at my church that I would use for concert visuals and projection mapping. So I said, oh man, like, look at God, like, as long as it's the same software, I can always peel back a lot of my creative artwork, but still slip in a lot of my work. So to the left is one of my earliest pieces I've ever done, which was oil on canvas. I originally started studying film and art at the University of Arizona, and I really wanted to get more into animation, but it was more so focused on film. So I said, okay, my older brother is really my true, I guess, North Star as far as getting into 3D animation. He was studying at NYU at the time, so I'll go back and forth between Tucson and New York to study under him, as well as study film. So these are two art pieces that are essentially bookends. On the right is an art piece that I worked with as far as Photoshop, and actually Spike Lee came to the church, Pilgrim Rest, and he signed it, and I wanted to donate this to Loaf Ring and iRock, just for an amazing mentor he is, but then also I said, who do I think of even in this community that I look up to at that sort of level? So, all right, so Planet Mars Multimedia, the name started, last name is Marzett. And I've even broken that down as an acronym, as a Magnificent African Rhyming Zeitgeist, just playing that together. But this was started as an animation studio with my brother in Charleston, South Carolina. But further moving back west, out here to be closer to my father as he got towards Parkinson's, I wanted to be closer with him. But then also I said, hey, I wanted to be involved with something a little bit larger as far as LED walls and wire work and green screen technique, and then I could use the animation studio as a boutique studio down there in South. So that's where it evolved to another company that I started called MZT, which is just Marzett Zeitgeist Technology, which is a production company. So I'll play some of the initial work. Someone shout out something you want to see. You want to see video editing, you want to see animation, motion design, graphic design, 3D?
Animation.
All right, great. So here's some previous work. It's portfolio work that we did for a investment real estate developer. And if you go to Charleston, we're mostly known for Rainbow Row. And this is most of my technique as far as like utilizing the toon shader is concerned. So pretty much he just wanted a flyby of the city, and he wanted to just be flying through the city and then land post-it notes of wherever he wanted to sell. So this always runs on loops down in Charleston, but it got to a point, even with the design work that we were doing, that geographically, going from a city that is more or less, I would say maybe a fifth or an eighth of the size here in Phoenix versus some of the work that we can do out here. Now, more community-based work is this company, Low Country Street Grocery. So they are a nonprofit in Charleston, South Carolina, where they ride around and they give groceries to people in food deserts. And when we were designing with them, it's like, you already got this amazing bus. Let's just have it ride around a map, eat some food, or eat the money, and then also dispose of all of the vegetables. So this runs on loops as well. And that's how we started to build up some of our design career, just being on that intersection of that. Now, as it gets to the animation and the seamless visual effects, incorporating the compositing, right? So there's overt 3D animation and more toon shader effects, right? And then more corporate work, but then now we have more animated seamless visual effects. And this actually has some music to it. I wish I could connect it, but also my brother's a trumpet player and has a couple of bands as well. So it's always that intersection or crossroad between music, animation, film, visual effects, and then of course that religious backing of what's our basis, right? So as you can see, some of the seamless effects that are here as far as like the photographs, or you saw with the, what is that, the casting the reel and things of that nature. So I have, if we would like to see anything else, where would we want to take
Motion graphics.
Motion graphics? Oh,
That's kind of what it was.
yeah, I already showed some of that, but
3D.
you know
3D.
what? Okay. This is part of the reel that I was working with when I was saying going back and forth to New York. It's always great to have a brother in the same industry as you, because it's almost like we can be two places at once and we're both working at the same time. So, we can get this full screen. Oh, man.
Hit F, letter F.
Oh.
No?
Nothing. But this is more of the 3D modeling at the very beginning stages of the animation and 3D modeling. It's really, really hard. Now, to the same point of all these models, now there's a company, Maxon, they own a 3D modeling software called ZBrush. I'm allowed to digitally sculpt from my iPad if on the fly. For example, if I wanted to sculpt a gold frame logo, or if I wanted to sculpt something and I had an idea in church for something visually, I could sculpt that on my iPad and then render that to my computer at home, right? Which is always fascinating as technology moves forward. A lot of these visual effects, and of course you see some of the effects that we've used for models for church, and seamless visual effects, smoke and particles, things like that, as well as like makeup and cleaning commercials and mock-ups that we've done for corporate work. It allowed us just to continue to work and work and work. So there's my older brother in doing the compositing visual effects, taking out an eyeball and having it in his mouth and fitting that back in. So we were always working our way up on a crossroad of how can we do in-camera techniques, how can we do animation, how can we do post-production visual effects, how can we do motion graphics, how can we do 3D, and then you couple that, and then you put that on steroids when I come out here, and then connect with someone like iRock, and then you start doing classes on installing LED walls. So now I already have the animation, right, step. Then I come to a crossroad where, oh, I want to learn not only the front end of installing the LED walls and doing the visual effects, but what's behind the scene. Where can I install this? And then you start to see, hey, I can projection map. Not only is the LED wall one part, but then also taking that HDMI and putting that in a projector, and now you projection map. Now my canvas is everywhere. So another crossroad. Whenever there's a problem, it's always a solution in my mind. I can play some more of even my early days. I'm just gonna kind of just roll through some stuff. But my early days, as far as filmmaking concerned, at University of Arizona, I was so gung ho. I'm like, oh man, I want to do animation stuff. Well, they're like, no, you can only do live stuff. Well, I was like, okay, well, I'll at least do my opening titles, right? I'll at least showcase, like, hey, at the beginning, I'm going to showcase some of my work. But man, this is old, 12 years old. But this was just work that I came into whenever I came into a conflict. It's like, okay, how can I slip in some of my animation and then accomplish the goal? A lot of these people are now working in Hollywood. This gentleman, Kendrick, is an executive at Paramount. That gentleman who was sitting at the front as the camera went by, David Bornstein, is an accomplished director out in Hollywood as well. So a lot of the times too, and it goes back to Creative Mornings, not only the person who's speaking, but who are you talking to next to you? Who's the person, bless you, who's the person that you're talking to right next to you? Connect with them, link with them, and see how that can work. Yeah, so that's some live action stuff, that's some filmmaking stuff. I could show some architectural viz. I think that would be really interesting. So I've worked for a lot. I've had a lot of different jobs. Even my mom would say, are you like Jamaican? Because you got so many jobs. You're bus driver and mailman and police officer and firefighter. And because I would always work on editing, or I'd work on lighting, or I'd work on installs, or I'd do projection mapping, or I'd do project managing, or even this morning I had extra USB-Cs or electrical outlets, or like putting out chairs or getting there early. Like, I've always been somebody to see something and help, right? But this in particular, I would show businesses that I want to work with as far as like the architect biz, and say, hey, if you have an idea for a new property that you want to create, I could give a visual representation of that. But a lot of times that fall on deaf ears. But to me, I'd always look at it, oh, I'm gonna break something. To me, I'd always look at it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity for me to learn my skill set, get my work out there, and be of service to anybody. So these are just renders from assisted common livings, and this is all down in South in North Carolina. So just want to kind of go through some of that. Any questions? Anything? Oh, go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit more about projection mapping? What exactly is that? Where do you use it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So projection mapping, right? On your projector, there's like a wide input that's an HDMI, right? If you look behind you, there, cameras can't really see, but there's an LED wall right there, right? It's the same technique as this output for this LED wall is the same thing for a projector. Now, let me see if I have some things. You know what? There's a software that I utilize. It's called Resolume Arena, right? It allows you to take MOVs or JPEGs, right, or videos of any kind, and you can place them within the software and then run them on layers. As you export those layers, you are mapping that to the environment or to whatever wall or whatever your canvas is. Now, this LED wall, if this wasn't an LED wall and it was a projector, it's still the same principle, right? The mapping is like, okay, what are the parameters at which we want this projection to be? Because a lot of times you have a projector and the output, even with this light, for example, there's light that's going all around this wall, right? But the primary focus is just what is on the screen. So you mapping out exactly what you would like to see within an area, confined area, now that is projection mapping it to a surface.
Is that like with the, what was it, the Van Gogh, immersive Van Gogh art show that was here a few years ago?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. That is exactly the point. And actually, there is a art show that's going to be going on here at the Skyline Lofts, which is right, honestly, on McKinley. I want to say McKinley and 5th Street. There's an art gallery there, and a woman, Kim Lyons, that is an amazing watercolor painter. I showed her some of the techniques as far as the projection mapping is concerned, and we're going to be exhibiting a lot of that work as well. So I love collaborating with artists that either paint or sculpt, and then now we start to take that visual and let me run that through Resolume. What is the largest format you've ever seen your work? A lot of times they've only said, oh, a canvas. I'm like, let's make that 100 feet wide,
Yeah.
right? Or I show them sometimes visuals, or I say, come with me to church, and they're like, oh man, what are you thinking? And I'm like, to me, I thought like I was becoming one of the best artists just as an animator and maybe build up something like Pixar, Industrial Light Magic, and things like that. But I didn't realize some of those same softwares were for the seamless visual effects, some seamless gradients and things like that. And then it started to click of, hey, who are some of my favorite painters or artists, and how can they paint certain elements that we can now process and not just have only a blue screen or a red screen gradient. Let me take an artist that's here in the community, right? Sample some of their work, run it through Resolume, and then project that on an LED wall on a stage. And then now you have performers in front of that. And a lot of times they're overcome and overwhelmed because of the energy of, you have a choir, and you have doxology dancers, and then you have a preacher, and then lo and behold, you see your seamless art that's right there, right? So, perfect. This is actually an event that I'm working with a team, our Creative Council, all on your seats right here. This is actually an interview I did.
Down there in Charleston, South Carolina, so moving back out here to Arizona, or in Phoenix. More robust as far as filmmaking is concerned, and then event planning. So that led to MCT 1990, which is an acronym for Marzett Zeitgeist Technology. And I was born in 1990, so I was just like, okay, that's something that could look good on a form. It's like any company can be, oh, MZT 1990, what are they into? It's like, oh, it's tech, okay, cool. And what differentiates me is working with everybody, especially like a shared partnership with like university, like some at ASU, of course U of A, and companies like Microsoft 365 implementing their workflow to the program, and then also like community-based schooling and programs called out of Glowframe, which is at the base of this Arizona Center. And shout out to IROC Daniels for just being a supportive individual in the community and getting people involved with companies like Showboss to learn about LED walls, to Encore and understanding the production element of shows, and like Arizona Technical Solutions to understand lighting and truss, and then also just getting your hands on that equipment. So from there, being an animator and 3D artist, and then creative, I just always wanted to create with people, both university-based, and then community-based, and then also just like private. So that's kind of what differentiates me. It's just kind of being interdisciplinary. And I delegate to those more talented than I at Thunderbird and all that stuff. But then also people like Brandon who work in VR and kind of have a similar vision, but something where I can be in a production pipeline where I can create a lot of these 3D assets, and then they have the environment already placed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So my question to you is that as I'm listening to you talking, you're familiar with Venn diagrams, right?
Yes.
And you being at the center of it. So I'm listening to all the different iterations of your creativity. What helps you to keep all those plates spinning? What is the connective thread for you?
To me,
Purpose, maybe.
To me, it's definitely my family. I'm the most calm person in my family. They're like a Wayne's family, or like an improv kind of family. From they're singers. Everybody plays a musical instrument. My mother was a teacher and a preacher, also studied calligraphy, and then my dad only studied chemical engineering at Grambling State University. So like that basis of like having that HBCU underbelly is like the main thing. Although, I went to university, and of course I wanted to do HBCU, but it was a bigger plan and bigger scheme. But it's my family. 2 older brothers, an older sister, a younger brother, younger sister. My eldest brother, Sean, graduated from West Point. My eldest sister, graduated from Howard, and then also went back and got her master's at Georgetown. Older brother Patrick, who is basically like my avid, my most mentor. Undergraduate, University of South Carolina, and then NYU for digital imaging and design. And then you have me, University of Arizona, and then College of Charleston, and then ASU sporadically. Even though I always tell them, like, I'm University of Arizona graduate, but like I'm undercover. But ASU does it right, like with Edson and I and their community-based stuff. And so it's always been family, and it wasn't like if you're going to college, it's you're going to college, and what are you going to study? So I always wanted to make sure it came from the interdisciplinary nature. Like I would go to the film school and I'd be like, no, I want to study animation, and they're like, no, we're only doing film, and I'm like, but my brother goes to NYU. Like the writers, directors, the animators, producers, and model makers are all in the same building. What happens when they get in the elevator? Somebody has to talk, and then the idea starts to bounce around. But lo and behold, now a lot of that stuff is like common law. But we had interdisciplinary programs at University of Arizona. There's one called Woven, which was in my minor. It's Information Science, Tech, and the Arts. There's a new program at that time called ISTA, which now is kind of standard. So that's where I got to like the 3D printing, because I said, I was already thinking about animating characters, and now there's a way for me to do like different plastics and then incorporate them into the work. So spinning the plates, it's just how I live. Like it's okay. I start like how we started today. It starts with some music, right? And then it'll go from music to like, what am I thinking design wise, to okay, there's always something religious wise, whether we have Bible study and like what are the graphics that are needed for that, or like what is this service? Like last service was Easter, so I'm like, okay, what is the choir wearing? And they're wearing pastels. Like now that it's the point where they approach me and they're like, we're wearing pastels. I'm like, all right, great. How can I pull up this pastel color palette? What can I do to like incorporate different stained glass and different things like that to just keep pushing it? I want it to be seamless, but how can I keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing the production value? So there's always something, and there's always something in this city. Whether yesterday there was the Mesa Studios Innovation Night, which I spoke at. Oh, that's where, yeah, that's where we were at. And then today it's Glowframe. Yeah, I can go on and on, but there's always something. there's always something. Or there's always some younger person I could help out, you know? So, yeah, I have to talk to Chris.